Hi everyone, welcome to another video. This one is about Chopin Étude, Opus 10 number 3 in E major, the slow one that everyone likes, if you haven't heard it before. With the hard part in the middle. So we'll look at this Étude now a little bit, and I have a bunch of things I would like to share with you in this piece. So, number one, where to start? There's so many little things here. There's really a lot. Okay, I'm going to start by telling you a little bit about the structure of this piece and something also that's really different about the way Chopin writes to, composers before him, even a lot of composers after them, are often writing, right? Okay, the normal way of writing has been quadratically. 8 bars divided by two sets of 4 divided by 2, so 2, 2, 2, 4, 8, things like that. Now Chopin is, you might have noticed in this piece, probably not, actually I didn't until my teacher pointed out to me years ago, that Chopin is being very asymmetrical. He's using numbers like 5 and 3, okay? So we start out with a 5-bar phrase. Second bar, here's the middle, 3rd bar, 4th bar, and the last bar to finish. Now we have a 3-bar phrase. Here's the 1st bar, 2nd bar, and the middle of the phrase. See how we have a 5 plus 3 instead of a 4 plus 4 to make our 5, 6, 7, 8. We still have the 8 bars, but it was 5 plus 3 instead of 4 plus 4. So why is that important? Because you're going to shape things that way. See, you're going to shape things exactly like this in the middle. So the middle of your 5-bar phrase. 1, 2, 3. That's the high point, and also the highest note. And then you come back down, decrescendo here. Come back down to piano. Same thing in the 3-bar phrase. We're going to crescendo here. And we're already in the middle. This is very short. Down to the second half of those 3 bars. Okay? Now, the tempo, what speed to play it? You have to, there's no right answer to this, but one thing I can say is I'm using the Équier or Équire or whatever you want to call it edition, and I have a quarter note equals 100. I also wrote a little arrow and saying that this was a very bad suggestion, So I think that is way too fast, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't follow these metronome things. They don't make sense, It's easy to find. You have your 60, 1, 2, 3. So 120 is 1 and pom, 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 and 100 is just a little slower, right? So you'd have to don't worry about these metronome markings. Find your own tempo, and you have to stretch your boundaries. You might like to play it's easier to play it fast, but it's not nicer. So if you can which brings us to the next question, which is rubato. How much rubato to do? In general, I think, it really varies from student to student, but I would tend to think that in a piece like this, the tendency is going to be to do too much. It's going to be to play somehow like this. became incoherent. You got to express so much because you want to express it, but just remember, this is, if you get, one thing from all my videos, this is probably the essential thing. After many studies with psychologists and audiences, there has been an agreement that the most expressive thing for the listener is to bring out the structure of the piece. So if you can show the way the piece is built together, that is the most expressive thing that will get the listener the most, let's say, worked up from the music, is that they understand the structure of the piece. They understand the story. It's the same thing for you. Watch Lord of the Rings backwards, start with Return of the King. That's not so exciting, right? Maybe a little bit. Lord of the Rings is always exciting. But there you have it. Bring out the structure. So, okay. In order to do that, if you're doing too much rubato, you might have to take the metronome out a few times. I know it's not fun to play with a metronome, and not only that, you shouldn't play metronomically, but it might be good to get a little walking motor here. See how nice that is? And maybe I slow down only at the very end. So I think in this case, less rubato is really more. Okay, let's go on to this. Now, you can start a little softer if you want in the middle of this crescendo. And crescendo even more, and then again. Okay, we've got lots to talk about here. So alternatively, one big crescendo also sounds good. So here you want to stretch it. There should be a tension in this ritenuto. It's not the dying down kind of ritenuto. It's the stretching one, okay? Second thing, once you get here, sorry, A sharp, and 2 and 3, going to that second eighth note beat in this case is really going to help you to continue that phrase. Because what we want here is that we have F, G, E, F. Here's the long note that has to sing and continue G, F, E, C, D. If you were a singer, you would do that in one breath. And if you sing it in one breath, then you're probably going to understand exactly what I mean by that, So 2 and 3. That really helps so that you don't sit on the first beat and stop listening. So do that. And 2 and 3. While, of course, trying to maintain as much as possible a distinction between the melody and the accompaniment, which is played by the same hand in this case. So here you have the same thing again. That quarter note tied. In this case, it was slurred in this case to the second E. So this is personal, but I like to crescendo on that one because we're going down and down. So maybe a tendency of a lot of pianists is going to be to do this kind of soft, and then play this very soft, which is nice, but you have nowhere left to go. So experiment with the way you spread that diminuendo. You might not want to start it too soon. Sustain here, even if we have a little decrescendo, but we're coming from fortissimo. Give it a little reamp here. And then this one. Maybe that's a little personal. You can experiment with it. That's a very difficult thing So the idea here, if you're working on the technique correctly here, you should be able to do this with a weight transfer instead of controlling it from the fingers, which is hard to get that little dim that we want on those three notes, right? Ya-da-dum. So walk the fingers. That's number one. Number two, whenever you have pianissimo, you're trying to do something really soft, remove the weight from the piano. And you can do that by bringing the belly button into the spine a little bit and lengthening the spine. Then you're putting less weight in the instrument. You'll find it's a lot easier to get that sound. Also following through here with the rest. That's a little challenging part. It may not seem like it, but it's challenging to get it right. Okay, next section, poco più animato. Here we have, we're B major now. We're modulated to the dominant in a harmonic progression now that's going upwards. So a little bit faster, not too much. See how this one is more and then this one is less. So when you get those little things, it really makes all the difference. Here what you want to do is try to do it differently each time. So, if you're doing a rubato, do it once or twice, but not 4 times, because this thing repeats 4 times. Okay, now this thing here also. Go into that forte, connect everything. Don't slow down here. That sort of thing. And now a little surprise, yeah. And now this is the really funny part of this piece, because this is how I always hear it. I don't know if anyone doesn't do this. Yeah. How that sounds very familiar because everyone plays it that way, but it's actually not the way it's written, right? It's not a 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and triplets. What actually we have written is E. They're all the same value. Everything is 16th notes. So instead of going, you could do this. Is actually the way it is on paper. Now, we're going to have this again here. But of course, here I do not recommend going. You can experiment with it, but it just doesn't sound like that. It doesn't feel like it. Although we do finish more coherently. So experiment a little bit around that. But try not to add a beat here and turn this into a triplet here. I think it should be okay? Same thing. So I did not practice this before this video, so I probably shouldn't play it, but usually the fingerings in both the Paderewski edition and the Ekie edition are very good. And the idea here is to have crescendos, and then start again. So you have ta-da-da-da-da-dee-dum, pa-da-dee-da-da-da-dee-dum. There's your 2, and then the third one, a longer crescendo. Ta-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-dee. All the way to here. Conforza usually means as well you can take a little bit of time. Never realized there was an A there. this section now. This is the tough section, right? Apart from those augmented fourths. So these are all diminished sevenths. So this is really, now I have big hands, I can do that. But if not, suppose I'm making someone practice this. This section will really get you very further on your path to mastery of diminished sevenths, because that's all there is here is diminished sevenths. So you can practice it a variety of ways. I would suggest putting little stops and breaking it in sections. And I will give you, I believe here, 4 different ways of doing that, maybe more. A couple of ways. Here we go. Number 1. Try this way. 2 by 2 with the slur. Okay, that's way number 1. Number 2. 2 by 2 against the slur. Start to notice is this is the same chord. That's one diminished chord, and then that's another chord, and then here we're just going chromatically, chromatic, right? The whole thing is chromatic except for one place, I think. Now we go up chromatically, and go down chromatic, down chromatic, down chromatic. That's all one chord. And then this one is not chromatic, right? Chromatic, chromatic, chromatic. And this one is chromatic. Now chromatically descending. So we have, okay, now let's go back to our stops. We did this. We also did this. I promise if you practice this way, you will absolutely technically master this. So next we have 4. Do 4 at a time. I encourage you to really stop in between. Take the time to stop. Don't rush it. The idea here is that you're playing in bursts. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4 and stop. Relax. Prepare. 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on and so forth. Now you guessed it. After that we have those 4. We did this way. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're just patching it up in the places that we didn't. It's like you put bricks all next to each other. Well, the next layer, you're going to put them like that, right? Now, musically, let's go to the music a little bit here. Leave the pedal a little bit, okay? Don't remove it here. We're going to be kind of nude up there. Change maybe here. If you see where every chord changes, wherever it moves chromatically, that's the place to change the pedal. And the places where it's the same chord, you can leave the pedal, you know? So it would look like this. You don't have to. You can also change it in some places. Pedal, pedal. Now, pedal again. Pedal, pedal, pedal. And notice that this pedal, and this pedal, we have the same chord here. You could leave the pedal there and then change it only here. Change, and so on and so forth. That's for the pedal. Now, musically, con bravura, so that's a very confident kind of thing. And then later we have stretto, which is another way of saying accelerando in a way. In a stretto, every beat is coming sooner and sooner and sooner and sooner. That's the impression we had in the stretto. So stretto is technically an accelerando, and then at the end, ritenuto and crescendo. And crescendo, that's very interesting. So this kind of ritenuto, once we have that stretto, if we haven't slowed down before the entire beginning of this thing, and we start to accelerate at the end, we're going to be like very thirsty for that ritenuto at the end, and it's going to give it a really nice tension. So it should sound something like this. And so on and so forth. Okay, so that's the advanced level. So when you've done all the other stuff, you've learned all the notes, work on it with the metronome, and you're very consistent, then you just go for it. Make sure you don't stop and do the accelerando. When you get to the end, you'll be very thirsty for that ritenuto and crescendo. I love you wrote ritenuto and crescendo. What are the notes? With a little caret on there, sforzando. The one with a Z. We only have Zs in this edition. I don't think so. Maybe. Okay, next section. Notice that the F sharp is the melody. It's not. This is what we usually hear everyone play. And that's not the melody. The melody is That's what we should hear. So try to differentiate the accompaniment notes in the right hand with the melodic notes in the same hand so that they're distinctly different. Some notes are harmonically more important than others, like the G's with the accent. Now here you have that again. Sol, fa, sol. Diminuendo now less and less. Every G should be less. Starting at bar 58, right? So if I start at 57, here's the first one. Sol, sol. Oh, sorry, I'm in the wrong place. Here, G, less G, less G, G. Poco rallentando, smorzando. So smorzando means dying down, and poco rallentando means a little bit slowing down. So probably those things are kind of contradictory. You know, it's hard sometimes to understand exactly what Chopin wants. Does he want us to die down or keep going? So again, when you do this thing, try to get a direction from the very first note at measure 62 so that you don't go there, we made it. Because then you have to start the train afterwards. So it's already there. Here the direction is. We haven't reached our destination really because we keep going. We've only reached a station. The train is, not even really stopping here. Okay, and all this is the same up to the end. Rallentando, smorzando. Staccatos on those notes with lines. It just means that every note is important. The G sharp with the thumb in the right hand. Try to balance that last chord. I would have liked more G sharp. Even softer. It's kind of nice to hear that G sharp. Wow, we did it. Chopin Étude Opus 10 number 3. So that's a good one done. I think this video should help you a lot if you're learning this piece, even if you aren't, maybe have a look at it. And yeah, we'll do more Chopin Études. So happy practicing and see you in the next video. Take care.